Tall.
Yo, smoke hard coke, yo.
Yo, chill. Yo, chill.
You look like you need to be taken care of, nigga. You look like you need to go to the dentist. You need to look like you need to brush your teeth. You look like you need hygiene, nigga. You look like you need help. Tell your man 50 say you ousting something.
Jim Jones thought he ran Harlem, but Tony Yayo just shut him down cold. Receipts, loyalty, and power moves. You're about to see the moment that exposed everything. Designer chains, viral stunts, and public burns? They don't mean a thing when loyalty speaks louder than clout. 50 Cent's in the mix, backing Yayo, showing the difference between strategy and chaos. Who's really running the game, and who's just pretending? Stay tuned, because the full story behind this feud is wilder than you think. Jim Jones tried to step up, talking slick about 50 Cent and Tony Yayo like he knew the game. But Tony wasn't having it. He shut that down quickly, armed with receipts about Max B and cash stacks that had Harlem buzzing for all the wrong reasons. The question now, who's really running things, the Harlem boss or the loyal soldier? Let's unpack how Yayo put Jim in his place. It all kicked off when Jim sat down with Memphis Bleek for a long conversation, the kind that stirs up old feelings. Jim kept riding this what-if wave. What if Dipset had stayed solid? What if old alliances hadn't crumbled? That nostalgia for past hurts colored everything he said. Meanwhile, Memphis had been dropping Yayo's name across platforms, Drink Champs, Shannon Sharp, you name it. That constant mention finally got under Jim's skin. When Yayo's name surfaced in the interview, Jim went personal. The timing was precise. After hours of building up tension, he finally fired his shots. But Yayo had already seen the full interview, and he had the perfect response. His comeback was sharp and calculated. He posted the vintage Do It Right video on Instagram, featuring Anna and Max B, the same Max B who had gone toe-to-toe with young Jim Jones. Yayo wasn't playing checkers, he was playing chess. The hit stung because Jim's persona leans heavily on his past success with We Fly High. This interview just reminded everyone that he's still clinging to old feuds and past business disputes. Yayo, on the other hand, knew exactly what he was doing, showing a clear contrast in approach. This back and forth highlights the difference between two hip-hop schools, G-Unit versus Dipset. Yayo kept it real, showing loyalty and strategy, and it's clear why 50 Cent has looked out for him, like hooking him up with an apartment after he got out of jail. G-Unit's way is different, more structured, and Yayo's handling proves it.
So when I came out of jail, what did 50 do? Yo, get him an apartment in Battery Park. I ain't sell a record to do nothing yet.
Where the fuck is Battery Park at?
That's right there by the Statue of Liberty.
But that was only the tip of the iceberg. 50 Cent wasn't just handing out words, he put real resources behind loyalty. Tours, world trips, financial backing. Yayo had proof that sticking with 50's camp comes with perks that go beyond the MIC. He used that to shade Jim's claims of being Harlem's ultimate protector. Back to the Memphis Bleek sit-down. Jim opened another can of worms. He flexed his usual muscle, mocking people's looks and bank accounts. But when Yayo hit him with receipts, all that fronting fizzled. Yayo's play was sharp and precise. He exposed Jim for talking like a general while acting like a guy who once begged 50 for features and opportunities. That flips the narrative. Jim's image of a self-made king doesn't quite hold up when you remember how much he relied on connections. Remember those times Jim and 50 shared the stage, acting like partners? That clashes with the independent mogul persona he's trying to sell now. Yayo highlighted Jim's tendency to chase short-term wins with 50 instead of holding down Dipset's squad, and that history still casts a shadow on his reputation. The real sting came when Yayo brought up Max B and Stack bundles. This wasn't about clout, it was about legacy and missed loyalty. Showing a clip of Stack bundles with a Porsche while still in the projects drove home the point: looking rich doesn't equal having real protection. Calling out Max and Stack forced the discussion into Jim's weakest spot, moments when he didn't truly back his people. Here's the blunt truth. Jim Jones made serious money off talent without fully giving back. Yayo's mention of those names painted Jim in a rough light, showing a stark contrast with 50 Cent's approach. 50 leveled up his crew, Bentleys, designer drip, safe homes. Tony Yayo is living proof. Loyalty under 50 comes with security, comfort, and cash. Jim, on the other hand, played the streets differently. He was hands-on, hype man, security manager, director, whatever it took to push his team. He offered cash, studio time, tours, and features. His loyalty was tied to street authenticity. Stack bundles is the prime example. Jim gave him opportunities and money, but Stack stayed rooted in the projects. So when Yayo struck, it landed like a freight train. Meanwhile, 50 Cent could just reach into this drama and escalate it, which is why he's still such a force in the game. When Jim started taunting Tony Yayo, boasting about leaning on 50 for support, 50 didn't hesitate to remind everyone exactly how loyalty works in his world. It basically confirmed what a lot of people had already been thinking. Jim's salty because nobody's ever had his back the way 50 Cent has had Tony Yayo's. The bond between 50 and Yayo isn't built overnight. It's forged through years of loyalty, shared history, and an empire they built together. When 50 steps in, it's clear, anyone coming for his people is stepping into his lane. To really understand, you have to know the backstory. 50 and Jim Jones go way back, tangled in Dipset drama, mostly via Cameron. There were public callouts, heated exchanges, and long-running tension. Back in 2007, 50 openly roasted Coke Records, Jim's label, calling it a graveyard for artists who'd lost relevance. That lit a fire under Cam and Jim, and soon diss tracks, social media callouts, and public drama were flying. But 50 didn't just react, he played chess. He trolled Cam and Jim, stoked the flames, and even brought Jim and Jules Santana on stage during shows while the Cam beef was at its peak, making the tension impossible to ignore. Over the years, he kept poking Jim on social media, highlighting the contrast: quieter output, lower sales, less influence. Meanwhile, 50 was stacking paper, clout, and dominance. It became a pattern. 50's strategy isn't just about music, it's psychological. Trolling, public digs, and strategic moves keep Jim defensive. And it works. Jim responds, but the gap is obvious. 50 runs the business with strategy and market dominance, while Jim operates street first, loyal to Dipset, and tied to Harlem identity. Countless moments built this narrative. Stage appearances, interviews, diss tracks, social media shots, all layering the story. Each exchange reinforced 50's image as the strategist with the upper hand, while Jim fought to defend his street cred and legacy. Fast forward to the showdown between Tony Yayo and Jim Jones, and all of this history frames the stakes perfectly. The drama isn't just about Tony Yayo versus Jim Jones. 50 Cent's involvement sends a bigger message. Loyalty in his camp isn't a buzzword, it's lived, proven, and backed by action. Unlike Jim's approach, which sometimes leans on image and ego, 50's loyalty comes with protection, security, and lifestyle benefits. This conversation quickly shifted from a personal feud to a masterclass in how the game actually works. Yayo has consistently shown what real loyalty looks like, staying true to 50, earning trust, and being rewarded for it. Jim, on the other hand, often leans on flashy tours, designer drip, and headlines. Those things impress for a moment, but if your people don't truly have your back, your king image crumbles. One moment that really made the difference was the Dipset vs. LX versus performance. Fans saw the energy, the respect, or lack thereof, and the gap between claimed power and actual influence. Jim could flex endlessly, but without loyalty behind him, the facade falls apart. Designer fits and social media stunts only get you so far. Yayo's consistency exposed that gap, hitting Jim right where it hurts. Jim tried to brush it off, saying, "I ain't beefing with washed rappers," but it sounded more like retreat than confidence. Meanwhile, fans weren't buying the flexes, jewelry, or flashy posts. Lately, Jim's been on a roller coaster, making bold claims, like saying he's a better rapper than Nas. In a June 2025 interview on the Joe and Jada podcast, he challenged Nas' legacy, pointing to Billboard entries, gold and platinum records, and viral traction with younger fans. Predictably, the hip-hop world pushed back hard. Fans and fellow artists defended Nas, and even a fake record like 400 Bands became a punchline, proving that perception and legacy still matter more than fleeting hype. This pattern isn't isolated. From Nas to Yayo to 50 Cent, Jim's moves feel like calculated stunts to stay relevant, grab clout, and remind the world he's still in the game. But the problem? It often comes off as desperation. While his commercial relevance has faded compared to peers, his constant flexing, designer fits, iced-out chains, luxury cars, private jets, rarely lands as intended. Instead of respect, he gets memes, roasts, and silence from blogs that normally support him. Contrast that with Yayo or 50 Cent. They don't need to stunt. Their respect and influence are built on years of loyalty, consistency, and real-world proof. That's the core lesson. Flashy image can only get you so far. Loyalty, credibility, and legacy carry far more weight in the culture. At the end of the day, none of Jim's chains, watches, or designer fits speak louder than the respect and loyalty 50 Cent has built over decades. 50 knows how to turn a viral moment into lasting clout and real money. Jim? His approach feels reactive, even a little desperate. The flexes come off as him trying to convince the world he's still at the top, but the culture sees straight through it. It's never been just about the ice, the cars, or the drip. Every viral stunt or wild claim is a chance for fans to judge his relevance. Right now, the verdict isn't in his favor. Back in the early 2000s, Jim was untouchable, riding high with Dipset, hitting the charts, claiming Harlem, and building a crew that commanded respect. We Fly High wasn't just a song, it was a movement. His street cred was solid. Fast forward to 2025, and that era feels like a lifetime ago. Today, Jim leans on beefs, clout-chasing comments, and outrageous claims to stay in the conversation. Saying he's a better than Nas and boasting about viral relevance? That drew massive pushback, and the culture roasted him relentlessly. No amount of designer gear can fix missing respect. Fans remember the Dipset glory days, but they also see the gap between past dominance and current relevance, and that gap exposes Jim's defensive energy and clout-chasing antics. Culturally, Jim's moves have become a constant meme fest. Social media, blogs, and even journalists who once defended him are staying silent, and that silence speaks volumes. His personality, ego, and past glory only carry him so far. Lean too hard on image, wild claims, and stunts to stay in the game, and the culture will call it out. So what's next for Jim Jones? That's the million-dollar question everyone in hip-hop and the culture at large is waiting to see answered. One thing is certain, Jim isn't done making noise. You can expect more surprises, whether it's unexpected track drops, stirring up public beef, or teaming up with younger artists to grab the attention of a newer generation of fans. He's proven over the years that he knows how to stay in the conversation, and is not afraid to use every tool at his disposal to remain visible. But the challenge this time around is bigger than ever. The landscape has changed, and Jim has to find the right balance between flash and credibility. Without that balance, the culture could easily leave him on the outside looking in, watching as younger voices and newer approaches define the industry. Here's the thing, the game has shifted dramatically. Fans are no longer passive consumers of music. They aren't just streaming albums and attending shows. They are constantly watching, listening, and analyzing. Every post on Instagram, every story shared on social media, every designer outfit, flashy chain, or luxury car is scrutinized. The audience doesn't just measure success in charts or streams anymore. They measure it in authenticity, relevance, and how someone engages with the culture in real time. Every public action is now a reflection of a legacy, and that legacy is being measured against current moves. In this environment, even a past legend has to work to prove their ongoing relevance. Jim can rock the designer fits, flash the chains, and hype up his Dipset glory days all he wants, but that's only part of the equation. The culture is more discerning than ever. They look for loyalty, consistency, and credibility, qualities that can't be bought, flexed, or overstated. These are traits earned over years of action, proof, and reliability. For instance, Tony Yayo's approach highlights exactly how this works. He doesn't need to constantly remind anyone of his contributions or successes. His credibility is built through decades of consistent behavior, loyalty to 50 Cent and the crew, and quiet effectiveness in both business and street dynamics. The respect Yayo commands is the kind that money, chains, or social media posts can't replicate. This contrast puts Jim in a complicated position. For years, his reputation was tied to moments of past dominance, big hits, chart-topping songs, and a loyal Dipset following. But today, the audience doesn't just care about what you did. They care about what you're doing right now, how you carry yourself in the present, and how your actions align with your words. This is where Jim's current strategy, which often relies on attention-grabbing stunts, bold claims, and viral moments, can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it keeps him in the conversation, and on the other, it exposes gaps in credibility. Fans can see the difference between someone who is naturally respected and someone who is grasping for relevance. Every public stunt Jim pulls is now compared not just to past successes but also to the measured, strategic approaches of other respected figures in the game. Balancing flash with credibility is easier said than done. The music industry and the culture at large demand both visibility and substance. You can't survive purely on nostalgia or visual spectacle. You need to prove that your moves today are as calculated, influential, and meaningful as they were during your peak. For Jim, this means thinking carefully about every release, every public statement, and every collaboration. A surprise track isn't enough. It has to be strong, culturally resonant, and strategically timed. A collaboration with a younger artist must be more than just a headline grabber. It should position him as relevant and influential within the current landscape. And any public beef or provocative action has to serve a purpose beyond short-term hype. It should reinforce credibility, not undermine it.
The culture is ruthless in this regard.
Fans, journalists, bloggers, and social media observers are constantly evaluating, comparing, and commenting. They remember the Dipset glory days fondly, but they also notice the gap between past dominance and present moves. That gap is where Jim is currently being tested. Every viral post, every flex, and every bold claim is now seen through a critical lens. The audience isn't just passively observing, they are actively deciding whether Jim's relevance is earned or performative. If his actions are perceived as desperate attempts to stay in the game, the backlash can be swift and unrelenting. Yet, there is still room for redemption. Jim Jones has the talent, the experience, and the connections to engineer a comeback if he approaches it thoughtfully. He could release tracks that resonate with the current generation while showcasing his skill and experience. He could engage in collaborations that feel authentic, not purely opportunistic, and demonstrate that he understands the modern game. Most importantly, he needs to show consistency in his actions, proving that loyalty and credibility are not just concepts he's trying to project, they are values he actually embodies. At the same time, failure to navigate this carefully could solidify a more permanent perception that Jim is someone who clings to past glories, relies on flashy displays, and chases attention rather than substance. The stakes are high, and the audience is watching every move. In the age of social media and instant feedback, there's little room for error. Every misstep is amplified, every stunt scrutinized, and every claim dissected. So, in the end, the question remains: can Jim Jones rise back to the top, reclaim his place in the culture, and prove that he still has relevance and respect in the game? Or has the gap between his past success and present perception become too wide to bridge? The suspense is real, and the culture is fully engaged, waiting to see whether he can reinvent himself strategically, regain credibility, and balance flash with substance, or whether the narrative of decline will continue to define him. One thing is certain: Jim Jones isn't quiet yet, and the next moves he makes will determine if he's remembered as a legend, a hustler, or someone chasing relevance in a changed game. That's why Yayo's steady approach lands even harder. It's not flashy, it's not about viral posts or designer fits, and it's certainly not about momentary headlines.
It's about consistency.
Yayo has spent years building his reputation through loyalty, reliability, and quiet, effective work behind the scenes. He's earned the respect of his peers, the trust of the people around him, and the credibility that comes from proving himself repeatedly, not just in music but in life. It's impossible to fake, and it's a reason why when the culture notices. He doesn't need to constantly remind anyone of his accomplishments or brag about past glories. The respect is already there. And that contrast is what makes Jim Jones' approach look so different. Jim's moves, by comparison, feel reactive. Every stunt, every bold statement, every attempt at flexing wealth or influence becomes a point of comparison. Fans and critics alike can see it all, and the differences are stark. The culture evaluates actions, not words. They notice when someone has genuine influence versus someone trying to recreate a former era of power. They understand when someone is respected because of their loyalty and integrity, and when someone is grasping for relevance, using stunts, headlines, and flashiness to make up for what they've lost over time. Yayo's calm, calculated presence makes Jim's antics look even more desperate. Where Yayo has long-term vision and measured moves, Jim appears reactive, trying to chase the attention of the moment rather than building lasting credibility. And this is not just a matter of perception. Fans can feel it. They see the difference between someone whose actions over time have consistently backed up their image and someone whose image is maintained mostly by social media flexes and loud claims. Every appearance, every viral post, every new track that Jim drops gets examined through this lens. It's no longer enough to say you were once at the top. You have to show the culture that you're still relevant, respected, and capable of delivering value in today's game.
So what's next for Jim? Can he flip the narrative?
Can he release a song, an album, or a collaboration so strong that it immediately silences critics and forces the culture to reassess his place in the game? It's possible. A well-timed hit, a high-profile collaboration with someone younger, or a cultural moment that reminds fans of his skills could temporarily shift the conversation. There's always a chance for redemption in the music industry if the moves are smart and strategic. But that path requires more than flashy visuals or clever social media posts. It requires substance, creativity, and a sense of awareness about the current landscape, qualities that Jim has shown in the past but must now apply with precision to regain momentum. The other possibility is that he continues down the path of chasing clout, repeating the same stunts, posting designer fits and flashy jewelry, or provoking viral moments without building long-term credibility. That approach might generate headlines in the short term, but it risks solidifying a reputation for desperation. The culture can smell when someone is scrambling to maintain relevance, and when that happens, respect fades, and the audience starts to tune out. Repeating the same tactics without meaningful impact doesn't just fail to elevate someone, it can actively harm their legacy. This tension is exactly what the audience is watching and waiting for. Fans, critics, and fellow artists are observing each move, analyzing every post, every interview, every drop. It's a living narrative, a story unfolding in real time. Every stunt becomes a piece of evidence, every comment a reflection of strategy, or lack thereof. The audience is not just passive, they are participatory. Through memes, reactions, social media commentary, and direct engagement, they are shaping the way Jim's career is perceived. And in this environment, perception is nearly as important as reality. The culture decides which moves are respected, which are laughed at, and which define someone's legacy. For everyone watching, there's a single, pressing question. Can Jim Jones rise back to the top, or has the fall-off gone too far to recover? This isn't just about sales or streams, it's about respect, influence, and cultural weight. The question encompasses his ability to navigate the modern music industry, where virality, social media presence, and audience perception are just as important as talent. Can he reinvent himself in a way that aligns with the expectations of today's fans while retaining the authenticity and credibility that once made him untouchable? Or will he remain caught in a cycle of overcompensation, chasing headlines and attention without regaining the foundation of trust and respect that is critical in the long run? It's also a question of strategy versus instinct. Yayo represents the strategic approach, honed over years of carefully considered moves and unwavering loyalty. Jim, by contrast, increasingly relies on instinct and reaction, trying to respond to narratives, provoke reactions, or leverage controversy for attention. Both approaches have merits in different contexts, but in today's cultural climate, long-term respect and credibility often outweigh flash and reactionary tactics. The gap between these approaches is clear to everyone watching, and it frames Jim's next moves as a critical moment for his career. Ultimately, the suspense isn't just about Jim Jones' music or image. It's about his ability to read the game, adapt, and prove that he can still command respect in a landscape that no longer reveres past glories without proof of present relevance. Every fan, every observer, and every critic is waiting for him to either reclaim his space with a decisive, culturally resonant move or to confirm the growing narrative that his peak influence belongs to a different era. The next steps he takes will define whether his legacy is revived or further diminished. And in a culture that values authenticity, loyalty, and long-term credibility above all else, the stakes couldn't be higher.